Hey, you guys. Oh, the chair is moving. Oh my god. The chair doesn't want me to film. Okay, oh my god. Hey, you guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here for another wine book talk. I'm loving filming these, mostly because I can film them at night when I'm drinking my wine. Instead of watching TV, I can just talk to you about books. It's great. As you can see from the title, I'm going to be talking about The Bridge Kingdom by Danielle Jensen, and also the second book, The Traitor Queen. I'm going to give you a brief spiel in the beginning about what it's about, and then I'm going to get into spoilers because I'm drinking wine. We're going to talk about the book. There's no way I'm not going to stay some spoilers. Plus, that's the point of this. I want to like rant a little bit, but in a good way. I did enjoy these books. So our story starts out with our main character, Laura. She is from Maradrina, I want to say, or yeah, Maradrina. Her and her sister is about the same age. They don't have the same mothers, but they have the same father, who's the king of Maradrina. And from a young age, they were taken from their mothers and put in this place in the middle of the desert to train to take over the kingdom of Ithaca. The king has told them for years that, you know, Ithaca is the reason the people of Maradrina are starving and suffering, and so their job is to train to become like masters of seduction and masters of like warfare and weaponry and politics and everything, just like the perfect killing machine. And one of them will be chosen to, you know, infiltrate Ithaca, marry the prince or king of Ithaca, and then take over. And Ithaca has a big bridge that kind of like has a monopoly over trade, and so the question is, how do you penetrate the bridge? How can you get past the bridge's defenses? And seems impenetrable. And so that's where our story starts. Laura is married off to the king after some shenanigans occur, and then she starts to learn more about Ithaca. And it's a journey. If you're a fan of fantasy romance, I think you will enjoy this. There are like a couple of saucy scenes in book 1 and a few saucy scenes in book 2, so if you're not into that, probably not the book for you, but I will say compared to other fantasy romance I've read, it was not like taking over the plot. There was still a plot that I found really interesting and well done. The world building was amazing. I felt like I could actually picture the place, and the story was so interesting, and I felt like I could follow the politics. Sometimes I feel like when I read these books, I'm having a really hard time following what's going on, but I felt like it was laid out in a really interesting way that, you know, made me be able to follow along and remember things. So I really enjoyed that. And like I said, loved the world building, loved the setting. I think the author was really good at descriptors, and yeah, just like plot planning in general. I think it was great. So even if you're not super into like a steamy scene here or there, if that's something that like won't ruin a book for you, I think that it's still worth picking up. I did really enjoy it. I'm sad I didn't pick it up sooner, but I read it with my best friend Katie, so I am kind of excited that we got to read the first 2 books together. It was supposed to be a duology, I'm pretty sure, but now there's going to be a 3rd and a 4th book, but the 3rd and 4th books are not following our main characters, Laura and Aaron being the king of Ithaca. At least that's how I said his name. It's spelled A-R-E-N. So I said Aaron, but who knows? Who knows with these fantasy books? So that's my little non-spoilery spiel. Do I recommend reading it? Absolutely. If you like fantasy and you like romance, it'll be up your alley. It's very entertaining. So let's get into those spoilers. First, I'm going to talk about the Bridge Kingdom with spoilers. Then I'll move on to the Traitor Queen, so that if you haven't read the second book, you can still watch this first part. But yes, I'll be talking about both, but not at the same time. So this is not going to be organized. We're just chatting about this book. It's not going to be an order of plot. It's just like whatever comes to mind. I read this book like a month ago, so really my brain is a little floopy. The first thing I wanted to say was I really liked how believable it was, the way Laura's opinions changed. And like, that's what kind of pissed me off when Aaron was so mad about like her betraying him. On one hand, I understood. But on the other hand, how is he that blindsided? Because he literally knew she was a spy. Like, he has this realization towards the end. You know, she didn't betray him intentionally at the end. So he's like, oh my god, I can't believe you do this. I'm like, you know that she came there for that reason. She was brainwashed. Like, from a mental health perspective, she essentially grew up in like a cult that totally gave her a different history of what had happened. And then this man is so mad. And like, I understand that it led to the loss of his people and like the death of his people. I understand him being upset and them having to work on regaining trust again. But it just made me so upset. His reaction was just so like, I can't believe you would do this. And I was like, really? You can't? You can't believe that this brainwashed girl who was like low-key abused as a child like did this to you? I mean, truly. Also, she didn't even, when I read the part that she was writing with the invisible ink on the pages, I was like, oh my god, this is gonna be the plot twist. I'm gonna lose my mind. I'm gonna lose my freaking mind. I was so upset. For the next 100-something pages, I was just waiting for the ball to drop, the other shoe to drop, whatever the saying is. I was like, no. No, you cannot do this to me. I hate when I'm waiting for that to happen. I hate it. You know, you see it coming because it's a fantasy romance. Is the plot twist really going to be that crazy? Probably not. But is it going to like overthrow the storyline? Yeah. So I was just waiting for it to happen. And then when he wrote the paper, and if he had sent that one, it would have been okay. But then he reached for another paper. He reached for another one, and that's when I knew oh no, the romance is over. It's not gonna be a good time. Oh, I'm getting heated. I loved the setting. I loved getting to explore Ithacana. I loved seeing, like I said, I felt like I lost my train of thought originally and now I'm back on it, but I felt like it was cool how we slowly got to see Lara change her perspective, because I feel like if right off the bat she had been like, okay, yeah, actually the Ithacanians, whatever, are good, and just immediately switched sides, it wouldn't have made any sense. Like, this poor girl was literally brainwashed. She had been fed a false history, a totally different worldview, and so I liked seeing the slow progression. It really is how people in cults, like, what happens, you know, even if they're being shown examples of how their belief system is false, it's very, very hard to get out of that. It's very hard to change your mindset. While obviously for book purposes it was sped up a little bit, you know, her changing and really being faced up front physically with that reality of what her father was doing to her, like, home country territory, whatever. I did really like that. I liked seeing her thought process of that, and, you know, like, the denial I felt like was very realistic for someone with that background. I liked that she was super badass. I loved getting both of their perspectives, where Erin's in the beginning is like, oh my god, she's just like a weak lady, and then in her head she's like, I could kill you in this very moment and I'm not going to, but I want to kill you, and that would be cool for me, except it would ruin my father's political plan. So loved that. That was great. I felt like Erin was a journey. I feel like I liked Lara's character a little better. I think Erin was cool, but like, I just preferred Lara as a character personally. I felt like the events of the first book were just really well set up, and even though the ending was predictable, I definitely was very upset, and I was reading the ending and I was like, yes, this is so cool. Those are my thoughts on the first book. I'm going to move on to the second book now, so if you haven't read it and you don't want to be spoiled, I would click off now. Thank you for watching. So on to the second book, The Traitor Queen. I can't remember if this happens at the end of the first book or the beginning of the second, which is why I kept it to talk about it with the second book, but I loved that Lara, when she goes to Erin's sister, whose name I cannot remember right now, but when she goes to her to be like, listen, I can help you get Erin back, because Erin, as we all know, has been taken by the king of Maradrina, and he's being held hostage, and it's not good. And so Lara's like, I gotta save my mans. I love him. Like, yes, he's upset with me that I betrayed him, but I love him, and I gotta save his life because I'm a badass woman. So when she goes and she totally like realizes that if she tries to convince them with like nice words, it's not gonna happen. So she just beats all of them up to show that she's just really strong and powerful and that she could help save him. That was glorious. That was iconic. I loved that part. It was honestly one of my favorite parts of the book. Just so funny. But let me tell you, Erin as a character during this whole book was so whiny. And I feel like I'm definitely nicer to Lara than I am to him, which I'm gonna put that caveat out there. I acknowledge it. I understand, you know, his people who he cares about and loves and friends of his are dead. And it is because of Lara, indirectly, directly, however you want to think about it. So I understand that, but I also feel like towards the end of the first book and, you know, the first like third of the second book, the amount of things, the number of things that she does to like save his life with absolutely no repayment, no promise of any reward, like no promise of forgiveness, like nothing. Literally just because, you know, she realizes how bad what she did was, and like she needs to repent, and also she loves him, so she wants to save him. And she realizes this, and she does so many things to like try to help and make it better. And this man is so mean. Like, he is so mean. They're in the middle of running away from, like, she saved him. They're, like, running away from the security army people, like, who are the guards trying to get them. And he's like, I don't want to go with you because I don't trust you. I'm like, is this the time? Is this the time? This girl just saved your life. There are people coming after you to kill you. And now you're going to be a whiny little boy and be like, oh no, I don't want to go with you because, like, you betrayed me. Now's not the time. You can do that in, like, an hour when you've, like, gotten away from the guards. But now, not the time. Also, you don't have to be so rude. I'm not saying he needed to, like, welcome her back with open arms. I understand it was a huge betrayal. Trust was broken. Like, people died. I get that. But, like, you don't have to be so mean. I don't know. It was too much for me. I was like, you're being annoying, and, like, time and place, my man. I am kind of intrigued about the two characters that were introduced that are going to be the stars of the next book, which is Laura's brother, full brother, which was interesting, and that girl whose name starts with Z, who I can't remember right now. I'm not quite sure what their story is going to be, but should be interesting. I'm looking forward to that. I'm kind of disappointed we don't get to see more Lara and Aaron, although I'm sure they'll pop up in the background at some point, but you know, I'm gonna think that the author did it for a reason. I really liked the author. You know, we spend so much time in Ithacana in the first book, and really getting to see more of Maridrina, and, you know, this is Lara's territory now. You know, before, even though she was badass, she was in Ithacana, she's exploring this new place, she's trying to figure out its secrets, and it was really cool to be in her home territory. And having Aaron get to see, like, where she grew up and all the, like, horrible things she had to endure, and getting him to see that perspective of, like, everything she went through and why she did what she did, and what her motivations were, and how, you know, it wasn't because she, like, hated him or, like, backstabbed him or didn't care about him. It was, you know, all the brainwashing, and she even tried to undo it, which was, like, huge for her. So I thought that was cool. I also loved getting to see Lara's sister. I forgot to say this. I loved seeing Lara's sisters at the beginning of the book doing all the saving, and every time Aaron or anyone from Ithacana was mean to her, they were like, shut up, or I'll stab you. And I loved that because Lara really needed some people on her side, and I thought that was like a really cool plot device to use to have some people stand up for her, because I feel like if we had Lara as a character stand up for herself too much, there would have been an argument of like, okay, well, you did cause a bunch of people to die. So it was cool to see her sister stand up for her. But yeah, I loved the fact that the author had us be in Maridrina for so much of the story. Not the whole story, but for a lot of it, and had them separate from the pack to kind of like, it made their reconciliation feel more organic, even though it wasn't quite a reconciliation, but just him coming to terms with like, I forgive her, but I know that I can't be with her because my people will never forgive me for what she's done, which was such an upsetting thing, but I understood where he was coming from, and I knew where she was coming from. But Aaron bothered me a little bit in that regard because I felt like he was just horny. Like, I feel like most of the second book, it wasn't even him thinking about her in an emotional way, like, oh, I miss her emotional, our emotional intimacy. He just like wanted to bone, and that was annoying, but you know, I guess it is what it is. They're back. I can't remember if they were already in Ithacana or not, and they finally hook up, and then this man makes her one promise, and it's like, don't abandon me on this beach. Don't abandon me on this beach, please. Do not abandon me on this beach. What does this man do after hooking up with her and then breaking her heart? He leaves her on this beach while she's asleep and wounded. And I was like, you are literally a horrible person. I know he did it, but I was like, I'm sorry. He needs to apologize for that. She's apologized for what she did. He needs to apologize for what he did. That made me so upset. That whole section, I was like, Lara, leave, go find a different man. You deserve better. You deserve better than this man. And again, I'm being too nice to Lara and too mean to Aaron, but that's just how I felt while I was reading. That's just how I felt. What can I say? My favorite part of this whole book, and my favorite, I mean, the part that made me laugh the most, was I knew the sharks were going to come into play at some point in the series. You know, they had talked about them so much. I thought it was going to happen in the first book, honestly, but when she swam and the sharks didn't attack her, I was like, I knew this was going to happen, and I kind of loved it. It was super cheesy, super convenient, Didn't make a lot of sense. And the fact that his people were willing to forgive her just because the sharks didn't attack her while she was in the water, it was just hilarious to me. Just truly hilarious. I'm sorry. I like know I was supposed to take it seriously, and I understand why the author did it. Again, I saw it coming, but it just made me laugh. It just made me laugh at like all it took were the sharks not eating her to have them forgive her. And I was like, good for you. I'm glad the sharks didn't eat her. I'm glad that they were friends with her and they didn't chow down immediately, because apparently there were a lot of them. But I felt like it was a really abrupt ending. I would have liked like maybe like 30 more pages of some sort of something. I mean, if there was a continuation of the series from their perspective, I would have understood, but because we're switching perspectives in the next book, I would have liked a little bit more closure and a little bit more of something, but maybe we'll get that in the next books briefly. I don't know, but I did enjoy them. I had a great time reading them. They were very entertaining. Let me know what you think. What do you think about the things I said? Again, I know I was very harsh on Aaron and very lenient on Lara. I'm sorry. I know it's like some gender bias situation going on, so I will work on that, but I just had to express myself and how I felt. So we're at the end of the wine glass, which means we're at the end of the video. So my random fact of the day is that that tapestry behind me was woven by my grandmother. She made that, and it's beautiful. And now it's on my wall. She made a lot of them. She was very talented. I also have pillows from my other grandma that were like knitted by her, and just love having all the handmade grandma stuff. It's beautiful, and I am very excited to have it on my wall now. So that's my random fact for you. As always, my social media links are down below, like my Instagram, my Goodreads, my Twitter, all that fun stuff. And I also leave links to causes I'm passionate about in the description, so check those out if you're able to, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!